Hey students, welcome back to yet another session of letter writing. Previously, we had discussed about what exactly a letter is and what are its characteristics along with its importance. In today's video, we are going to discuss about the different types of letter writing. As you already know, students, letter is basically of two types. One is the formal letter, another is the informal letter. Now, letters can be of various types, but the first two divisions that can be made in letters are these two things. Alright, so today we are elaborately going to discuss about these two types of letters. But before we gain an in-depth knowledge about these two types of letters, it is very important to see their definition first. So, if you are asked to define a formal letter, you can write, a formal letter is an official letter written for an official reason. So, any reason that has got nothing to do with our personal life is an official reason. A formal letter is written for different purposes like making complaint or requesting something. So if you are making an FIR in the police station, there you need to write a formal letter, an official letter. If you're writing a letter to the editor of a newspaper, there also you need to write a formal letter. If you are complaining to the authority, it can be any kind of authority, there also you are expected to write an official or a formal letter. An informal letter is a letter written to a friend, a family member, or an acquaintance. Now, acquaintance is a person whom we know. That person may not be our family member or our friend, but that person can be known to us. All right, like our neighbors, they are not they can be our friends sometimes, but they are not our family members, but still we can call them acquaintances. Why? Because we know them. All right, so just people you know or people who are known to you, they can be called your acquaintances. They don't have to be your friend or family member to be an acquaintance. All right, so whenever you are writing in a letter to any of these kind of people, you are writing an informal letter. Now that we have already discussed about the definition of these two types of letters, let us move on towards the key features that each of these letters have. Now students, let us see some of the features of the formal letter. Firstly, it should be in a specified format. Now, there are many types of format for writing a formal letter. But since you belong to a CBSE school, that is why you are going to follow the format that is prescribed by the CBSE. Alright, so we will talk about the format later. It should avoid the use of unnecessary words. So you should also make sure that extra information, unnecessary words are not written in your formal letter. It should be straight to the point. So instead of making a story about something or, going here and there with your information or whatever you are providing, in your letter, you should be straight to the point. So whenever your teachers ask you to write specific answers or to the point answers, from there you have to understand that in letters also you need to be very specific and to the point. It should be polite even if it is a complaint letter. So politeness is one thing that you must not forget while writing a formal letter. You have to be very polite. You have to be very humble whenever you are writing a formal letter. Lastly, it should be free from any mistakes, that is grammatical or spelling mistakes. Now you see, if you write a letter to your mother or father and if you make any mistakes, they'll understand because they're just your parents, right? But if you're writing to the principal of your school, all right, or to the principal of your college, there you cannot write anything wrong. There you cannot make any errors because the principal or the authority is going to see the letter. Okay, so grammatical and spelling mistakes should never be there in a formal letter. Now, students, let us talk about informal letters. In the very beginning, it should be friendly in nature. Okay, because you are writing to your friend or your family member. So, definitely, you're not going to use any bombastic words there, right? Secondly, personal or emotional tone can be used. So if you're writing a letter to the editor of a newspaper, would you be using any personal tone? Would you be talking to them the way you talk to your friends? No, you will not. Okay, so in personal letters or informal letters, your tone can be very much personal and emotional. Thirdly, ordinary words and short forms can also be used. So, in formal letters, while you have to be careful about the usage of words, you should also make sure that the words that you're using are formal words. Okay. But in informal letters, you can use simple, ordinary words and your colloquial words as well. Okay, and short forms can also be used in informal letters, which cannot be done in the case of formal letters. And at last, the sentences should be short and simple. Now, you can write big sentences, long sentences as well, because if you are narrating a story or an incident in your letter to your family or your friends, then the sentences may be long. But other than that, you can, you don't have to be like very much agile or very much careful when you are writing a personal letter. Why? Because you are writing this to your friends and family. Now, a definition is done. We have also seen the key features. Let us now see the difference that is there in both these two types of letters. So now students, here you can see a table which will tell you the difference between the informal and the formal letter. So the informal letter is the one where you can use short forms like won't and will. And as you already know, won't and will are the short forms of will not and we will. But you cannot do any such thing in formal letters. Secondly, uses the person's name only. So if you're writing a letter to your best friend, you will definitely not talk to them like, hi best friend, how are you best friend? I hope you're fine best friend. All right, you'll not write it like this, right? Because you know that person and that person is close to you. You are emotionally attached. So in place of writing any such thing like my best friend, you will write their name. Okay. On the other hand, in case of formal letters, you will use only formal titles like Datuk and Madam. Now, Datuk is a word, it is a Malaysian word for sir. Okay, so in India, when we use, or India or around the world, we use sir, but in Malaysia, the word Datuk is used. Okay, so here, when you are writing a formal letter, you have to write only and only sir or madam. Personal comments like I hope, etc. can be used. Okay, whereas no such personal comments can be used in case of formal letters. Next, you have to assume the background knowledge. Like when you are writing an informal letter, if you're talking about, when you are telling your friend about some person, that person definitely knows, like your friend definitely knows about that person you are talking about. Why? Because both of you share a kind of background. Yes, that is why the background knowledge is already assumed in informal letters. But in formal letters, you have to give details of every single thing. So if you're making a complaint, you have to say, you have to mention at which time did the incident take place, or at which place, when, how. Every single thing you have to give in details, because the person you are writing the letter to doesn't know anything about it. All right. Now the next is informal idioms, like it'd be great. Okay. So as you already know, idioms are expressions. So in informal letters, expressions can be used, but in formal letters, the formal idioms are used. Formal expressions are used, like we would be honored. Okay. So in this slide, whichever purple thing that you can see are all of these are the examples. In informal letter next, you can use, it is up to you if you want to use incomplete sentences or not. You can do that because the letter is going to your acquaintances or your friends or family. All right. But informal letter, all sentences should be grammatically complete. Yes, like it was already said, grammar, spelling, every single thing should be taken care of. Next, you can use or you may use exclamation marks in informal letter. Yes, that is up to you. But in formal letter, you have to keep it in mind that no exclamation marks are to be used. All right. And at last, modal verbs like may, could can also be used in both these types of letters, though it is written only under formal letter, but you can also write it in informal letter as well. Next, we are going to talk about the block format. Now, what is block format? It is something when the entire text is aligned to the left. I know it is quite difficult for you to understand it like this. Let us see an example. So students, now the picture that you can see is that of an informal letter. Okay, everything that you can see here is starting from the left hand side margin. Yes, this is what block format means. If you see the traditional formats of writing letters, or if you have any very old book of letter writing, there you can see that the sender's address or the receiver's address, these things have been written on the right hand side of the page as well. But according to the CBSE pattern, you have to write everything from the left hand side. All right. So the entire text, right from the address to date to salutation to the body of the letter, every single thing will start from the left hand side of your page. And this is the block format. All right, students. So keep it in mind and don't forget. All right, students, with this, we come to the end of our discussion on the various types of letters, their definition, their key features, as well as their differences. So, this is the last video on letter writing. From next week onwards, you will receive PDFs of letters and the formats and examples. Everything will now be given to you in PDF format. So, keep a check on the school website. Stay safe. Goodbye.